Hello, my friends. Jerry Rosa here in the Rosa String Works workshop, back in my home environment. Well, that was a whole lot of fun yesterday with the Chapmans down in Springfield, Missouri at the Acoustic Shoppe. Those guys are killer musicians. Really nice guys too. You can't go wrong if you're doing business with those guys. So if you're in the market for a good guitar or mandolin or pretty much anything with strings, you need to be talking to those guys. They're good guys. They ship all over the United States and perhaps the country. I mean, perhaps the world. I don't know. I didn't ask them about outside the United States, but I know they ship all over the United States. So you could check into that anyway if you're somewhere else. But they would love to hear from you and do business with you. Looks like we're live with 34 viewers already. Well, that's great. So I want to thank you all for tuning in on that live broadcast yesterday. They had quite a few viewers, and quite a few of them were from my channel. They were able to confirm that. So it worked out real nice, and I think it's going to help both channels out in the long run, which is a good thing. You know, anytime you're helping out a channel that you like, that's a good thing for you, because you know, it ensures that more videos are going to come your way, you know, that type of thing. It's kind of like that clickbait thing we hit on yesterday. You know, people get on you because you use clickbait. Well, do you stop and think that if we didn't use clickbait and nobody watched the video, how many more videos do you think we'd put out if nobody was watching it? So, you know, it's a vicious circle, but, you know, it is what it is, and clickbait's kind of a necessary evil. So there you go. That's my excuse, and I'm sticking to it. Bill Webb just left from here a few days ago, and he's back in Texas. He says, "Good morning, Jerry. Thanks again for another awesome visit to the shop and the rental retreat." And I also set up one of Bill's guitars while he was here. And I don't know if you've seen a video on that yet. I don't think so, but you'll see it fairly soon. I can't keep track anymore. Those guys down there have a whole crew running their equipment. You know, they're running the microphones, you know, sound, you know, cameras, computers, all that stuff, internet, the whole bit. So they got a whole crew of people. They got 5 or 6 people in the background while we're sitting there doing our thing on the instruments. It's like a TV show down there. Where here, I've got 5 people here this morning with me. I didn't realize I had that many, but yeah, I do. I have my Batman persona, I have my Superman persona, and I have me, myself, and I. So there's 5 of me right here, right now. And probably more if I was talking to a psychologist or psychiatrist. There's no telling how many of me there really are. Multiple personalities. But no, it went fun. It was great. I hope you all enjoyed it. I didn't see a lot of the comments yet about it, but the few I read looked real positive. So I was glad to see that at least. Bruce Ducker says, "Awesome show yesterday." Well, great. It sounded good yesterday, or so good yesterday, says Lee Duffield. Yeah, one of my 5 personalities can't read. It messes up everything. Oh my gosh. Well, I do have a pretty good program for you this morning, I think. Something a little bit different. Well, first of all, I'm going to show you the reaction of the customer that picked up the L-00 Gibson. I'm not sure if I got the numbers right. They all run around in my head and get mixed up. I'm dyslexic or something. Anyway, Dread Tire. See, my D42 sounds completely natural and shiny through them. Okay, well, let's see here. I guess he's talking about, he must be having a conversation with somebody else on there. Okay. Kevin B says, "Fish or cut bait." So does that mean you're impatient, Kevin B? If so, too bad, so sad. Anyway, I'm going to, in a moment, show you this mandolin and show you the progress I made on it, and you can see the strings are on it, but it has not yet been tuned up. We're going to do that right live on camera, so that's something that's coming up, and I'll show you how I set the intonation again live. And I'm also going to video that, so there are really 2 cameras going this morning, or soon will be. When I do that, I'm going to video it for the actual video that comes out down the road. But right now, let's go ahead and take a look at Tuck's reaction when he picked up the Gibson L-00. My friends, Jerry Rosa here in the Rosa Stringworks Workshop. We have a visitor, Tuck Wilkinson, right?
That's correct.
Did I say it right? That's like the first time I ever said one right. But Tuck's here to pick up his guitar, and I'm glad of that. It's been here way too long.
Well, I thank you so much for taking this project on, Jerry.
You're sure welcome.
Couldn't find just anybody that would even could try it.
Well, it needed a lot, you know. It really did need a lot.
Well, it's set for several years, just not in a case, just up in the barn in what I call my command center. It's really a living quarters in a barn it's my hidey hole where I go hang out.
Your man cave.
My man cave.
Yeah, like my bat cave.
And I think I remember when the guy got the back off of it, he was talking about all the dust in there. Which I can believe that was certainly a factor.
It's a neat little guitar, and it's up in good shape now. And as far as I can tell, it'll last a long time.
From what I understand, my granddad bought it for my aunt for her 16th birthday.
Wow.
Which would have been in
cool.
1932. Is when
wow.
She was a musician. She played the piano better than the guitar.
Yeah.
And then she gave it to me when I was 15. And being a typical 15-year-old, I didn't take very good care of it. So.
Yeah, well, I've been there.
I'm going to pass it on down to my daughter now. It's a family heirloom.
That's awesome. Well, I'm glad I got to be a small part of it.
Yeah. Well, thanks so much, Jerry.
You're welcome.
I appreciate it so very much.
Hope you enjoyed that, folks. There's the conclusion of the Gibson that just gave me fits. We'll see you soon. Yeah, Tuck was one really cool guy, stand-up guy. I can't say enough good things about Tuck. He was very, very understanding, even though it took so long and all that. So thank you, Tuck, for being such a nice guy. Well, let's see. I guess we can just jump right into it. This mandolin, if you've been following along, has had a lot of work done to it before it ever got here. I could tell the neck had come out of it. I could tell the back had been off of it. The bridge was way too low to play it. In other words, you couldn't lower the bridge anymore, so the neck angle was bad. The neck was twisted on it. All that to be fixed. So I got all that fixed. I strung it up, and just to recap here, it was strung up perfectly and was tuning perfectly. It set the intonation, and about 30 minutes into the setup, I started noticing it's going flat, really bad flat, like more so than just string stretching. And I tuned it up again, and it did it again. Well, I noticed the neck was creeping. And what neck, it's really called glue creep, and that boils down to, it's pretty much a dead giveaway, that the joint's not done well and that there's too much glue in there, and the glue itself is sliding on its own or stretching or whatever you want to call that. So it hasn't broken loose. In other words, you can't wiggle it or anything like that, but it's that glue just slowly stretching. And with 8 strings on a mandolin, that can happen if you don't have a tight neck joint. And then I went on to explain in previous videos that one of the key things, obviously you definitely want a tight joint. So everything else being equal, you got to have a tight joint. But even with a tight joint, one of the key things that makes a neck really strong on a mandolin or violin is having this tab that comes out over the neck heel right here, this tab, and it locks into the heel and it ties it into the back. Well, this mandolin didn't even have that from the factory. The binding went straight around here, and therefore there was nothing tying this back into this heel. So it was kind of destined to fail from the factory, if you ask me. At least that's my opinion, and everybody's got a right to their opinion, and I'm sticking to that opinion. Because to me, that heel has been pretty much standard on pretty much all mandolins, pretty much all violins. And like bass fiddles is really key there. So what did I do then? Well, I took the little heel cap off, and just seconds ago that heel cap was laying here. Here it is. I took the heel cap off, and as soon as I took it off, I could see just giant gaping voids down through there. And I went like, oh my gosh. You know, and I didn't want to have to take this whole neck apart and all that stuff. So I elected to just pour epoxy down in there, and I would say, I don't know, a couple ounces worth of epoxy. That's quite a bit. I don't know how much I poured down in there, but I had to mix up 2 or 3 batches. I think 3 batches by the time I got it filled. And of course it had to run out everywhere because it wasn't tight. It was running out everywhere. So I patched up all that, got that all straightened out, got it leveled off, got it hardened up, let it set for several days. Then I made myself a patch that goes from this neck heel and dovetails out into here. You can't even see it now. I'm trying to get it to the camera where you can see that. I'm trying to get the light so that you can even see across the repair. So you can kind of hint that it's there. There's probably the best look at it. You can kind of tell it's there, but at any other angle, you really can't tell it's there. I mean, you can look right here and you can't really see it. So it's pretty well hidden. So anyway, and what I did was I only dovetailed halfway through this back. Now keep in mind, this back is multi-layer plywood. So I only dovetailed about 2/3 of the way through, I would say, probably. But I definitely did not go through the plywood all the way. And then I put a piece of maple in here that fit just like a glove, absolutely airtight. And then I had to carve an angle on the bottom of it to make it match up with this heel, and then, you know, carve all that back down, etc. and so forth. So it's all as good as it can be done by me. With the combination of filling that void with the epoxy and this heel, my vote is that it's going to hold. You know, I'm about 99% sure, but you don't know nothing until you know it. So here we go. I'm going to turn on this other camera so that we'll have this for the future video. Give me just a second here. You'd think one of my other personalities could have went over there and did that for me, but no. Can't do that. All right, just to prove it to you, it ain't been tightened up yet. I have not tuned this up. I just literally strung it up this morning just before the we went live. So I just got the strings on it. They're not even similar or even sort of tight. So I'm going to turn my tuner on here in front of me. You can't see that. And let me go ahead and I'll just try to turn the camera down a little bit where you can at least see me tuning. And so you at least see some action. Now, when you're tuning up a mandolin, or pretty much any instrument from scratch, and you don't have any tension on it, I don't recommend going all the way to your full note. I recommend just kind of bringing them all up to where they're making a sound. And just do that all the way around. Kind of keep it even. No point in putting undue stress on any part of your instrument. So I'm nowhere near pitch yet, but bringing it up slowly. So that's a little, almost an F sharp. So I'm just going to bring this other one about there too. Should be a G. This should be a D, but I'm going to bring it up to somewhere around a C. There's a C. This should be a, but there's a G, so that's close enough. This should be E, but I'll probably stop. Well, yeah. I'm going to stop at about a C sharp. So now I'm going to go bring this on up. That's an F sharp. There's a C sharp. Here's a G sharp. getting close. That's almost a D sharp. Alright, so now we're going to probably go to the full pitch here, or try it. There's a G. There's a D. There's an A. Here's an E. Now, probably because the camera's rolling here and I'm doing this live, typically I try to set the intonation before I get this far, and I forgot. So I can still set it, but I typically do it before I get all the strings up to pitch. Okay, that's really flat. That's a G. That's really flat. So what does that mean? That means the bridge is too far back. That means this length here is really long, and if you shorten it, it makes the note higher. So, because you know, right now open, it's right on the G, open. But when I note it, it's flat by 40 cents almost. So it's really flat. So I got to push this bridge forward quite a bit. Now that's tricky. And I got to be honest, it's not that easy to do. So unless you've done it, you know, you want to proceed with caution on moving a bridge under full tension. But I've done it a few hundred times. Still a little flat, about 20 cents flat, so we're going to go forward again. You got to get a real good grip on that when you do that. Now we're about 6 or 8 cents sharp, or flat rather. So I'm going to go just a little bit more. So this will be the G side. That's pretty close. So I'm going to call that good enough on the G. Now we'll try the E. Now more than likely the E is going to be off. Okay, the E's bottoming out, I think. I think it's fretting out on another fret. That's not good. I didn't really want that. I'm going to loosen these strings a little bit. And the reason I'm doing that is because I'm going to raise this side of the saddle up quite a bit. I knew I had it pretty low. So I'm going to raise this up. And we'll see if that's enough. That's an E flat, but that's close enough for checking intonation. Still buzzing, fretting out, so we're going to have to raise it up a little bit more. I can almost turn that by hand, but it's just easier to turn it with these pliers. It's almost noting. Still just fretting out at the least little bit. I'm going to loosen these just a little bit more just in case. And raise this up a little bit more. Pliers just slipped off the nut, there's all that was. Okay, it's actually a little sharp. It's a little bit sharp, so that's going to be one of these crooked bridge things. I don't like that, but it is what it is, you know. That's pretty close. Still fretting out just the least little bit. The strings aren't really high. They're a little bit high. Might have to do a little bit more fret work on it. All right, well, let me go ahead and tune it up, and let's just at least see if the neck's holding and what it's going to sound like. We're in the ballpark on the intonation. There's your A. Now keep in mind these strings are going to stretch, just like everybody's strings stretch on a new instrument. I mean, especially one that hasn't been struck up on a while. So there's, go through it again now and see if it's up to pitch. It's holding for the moment. You know, all I can do now is kind of watch it here and see and let you guys see it up close that the neck doesn't look like it's done anything yet. I don't think it can with this pulling across there, and the grain is running lengthwise in my patch that I put in there, so that's the strongest way to run it. If I ran the grain crosswise, it would just snap it right in half. So, you know, that's not a good way to do that. Seems to be holding about right. Actions is a little bit high there because of that fretting out. It didn't seem to be fretting out down further, so let me look down it and see if I can figure out what happened there. Yeah, it looks like there is just the least little bit of a hump right here, and so we'll probably have to do a little bit of leveling right there and fan that out. A lot of people think that you have to have a fretboard perfectly level from here to here, and of course that's the optimal. But even on a severely out of level fretboard, as long as you get all your frets level in the area where it matters, like when you're noting here, as long as these frets are fairly level, if you're noting here, as long as these frets are fairly level, you'll be fine. And the reason is because it just has to have clearance. So in other words, what I'm saying is that you could have a long underbow as long as it's not real severe. I mean, you could have a long slight underbow, which is basically relief, and that's why it'll still clear, because your frets are level within the relative space. And that's what really matters. And so right now what I'm saying is when I note here, it's just slightly high right in here, and it just needs a little bit of feathering. In other words, you just level it here and just feather that out, and then it'll be just perfectly fine. pretty decent right now. It's as far as the way it looks and sounds. I don't think it could be done much better, and I'm pretty positive it's not going to break again. You know, no one can know that for sure. Only time will tell, especially with using quote-unquote non-standard methods to fix that. So I turned off my other camera, so that'll end that part of the video. When you see it down the road, you'll see that little segment in there. Okay, well, I guess I'm ready to talk to you here and see what kind of comments we have. Oh, Jan says, is he going to show his legs again? Hey, you know, you're lucky that's all I'm showing. Anyway, you don't want to see my fat belly, I can tell you that. Yeah, if you could be in here and see how hot it is in here, and even though I got the air running and you can hear the air running, it's still really hot in here. It's humid here in Missouri. It's been getting well over 100 every day. Okay, so do you have any questions for me today, or are we already finished? I'm scrolling back up, just looking at the comments that I can see, and let's see. Jim C. says, I wonder how much pressure is on the neck when a mandolin is fully tuned and ready to go. Well, I don't know with absolute certainty myself. I do know it's a heck of a lot. It's a heck of a lot. And I've seen numbers in the 65 foot-pound range per string, something like that. So, you know, it's a lot. And then more so than the neck, I think about the top. It's just amazing to me that the top can stand up. That's why flat mandolins fail a lot more often than on the top than the arched mandolins do. That arch is an incredibly strong structure, kind of like a pyramid. It's very strong. A dome is just one of your strongest structures there is, because it spreads that stress out evenly, you know, and so it's amazing to me that the top can hold that kind of pressure. And that's why you have to have your braces in there and, you know, that kind of thing too. But yeah, not only the neck, but the top. And that's why the flat top mandolins often fail. I mean, they often fail. So if you've got a flat top mandolin and it's holding up, I'd say you're one of the rare exceptions. Let's see here. They're talking about something. That thing is loud, all right. I don't know if you're talking about this one or something else. I don't see any questions popping up here. I see one here, but it doesn't have question marks in front of it. Try to remember to put your question marks in front of it if you would. But it looks like White Dragon says, Jerry, have you ever tried to play the blues on a mandolin? No, I just inflict that on my audience. Whenever I play, everybody gets the blues. I mean, I don't know if I know what you mean. Everybody calls different things the blues type things, you know, and so not the New Orleans type blues, jazz type things like that. No, I haven't done that. Any tractor videos coming? Well, Paul, I still haven't tore into that tractor. I am dreading that. Like, I don't know why. You know, most time after I get into it, it's not as bad as I dread it. But I went in there like 3 or 4 times now and look, and it's just been so hot. I just don't feel motivated. But anyway, when I go in there and look at it, I talk myself out of it every time because it's way more difficult than the Ferguson was. The Ferguson had a lot to take apart to get it broken half. This has a lot exponential. Oh my gosh, it's just got so much to take apart. So I have not done anything yet. Next question from Patrick Nicolucci. Patrick Nicolucci. My grandfather's 100-year-plus-old banjo has a center mahogany block with a crack in it. Is it better to replace or repair, like the keep it original, even if it has the original cast skin? You know, in terms of originality for things like that, if it's done super well, wood is wood, and it probably wouldn't make much difference in terms of the value. But if you can keep it original, hey, that's always a good thing, and especially since it's a sentimental thing. You know, it's kind of nice to keep it intact. So I would shoot for that, because you can always go further if you have to, but I would shoot for keeping it intact, and I think that's always the way to start out and then see where you go from there. Tanya Lewis says, the Chapman brothers said you'd be back to Acoustic Shoppe. Is that true? Oh, I'm sure it's true at some point in time. Yeah, I am positive. We don't have any immediate plans, though I might run down there for their ball game. You know, they're sponsoring a ball game down there with the Springfield Cardinals, and Rhonda's going to be down there singing the national anthem. And, you know, you just never know. I might show up down there. Rudd asked something here that I'm not sure I understand. Does the rate off arch affect the sound? The rate of arch. Oh, I get you. How domed it is and all that. Yeah, it definitely, absolutely, 100% affects the sound. Yeah, Stradivari was the innovator there. And I just, you know, I go back to the basics every time when I try to think about these things, and I try to do the common sense thing again, because I read so much on Stradivari. Some of you may think, oh, he's just talking. I'm not lying to you when I tell you I went to the library every single day on my lunch hour for about 2 months and read every single thing I could find on the old violin makers. And Stradivari being the main one, of course, Amati and Guarneri, or however you pronounce that guy's name, and I don't even, you know, care, truly. But anyway, you see his violins too. And so I read everything I could find on all of those old guys, and others as well. And the other ones, you know, are lost to history because I don't know their names. But read tons and tons and tons and tons. And Stradivari, it was pretty obvious, came up with the idea to lower the arch. And that lowering the arch gave it more woody sound and more projection and more volume, etc. But, of course, there's always a trade-off. You lower that arch and you have lost some strength. And, you know, but of course a violin has a sound post, so it's not that big of a deal, and it also has a bass bar. Of course, your mandolins have 2 sound bars, tone bars in there. But anyway, I can tell you that a lower arch is definitely the way to go. You don't want to make a real high domed arch if you're building an instrument from scratch. Try to keep it low. And let's see, what glue did you use to stick the handle to your fret file? I think, and because it was done so long ago now, I think it was CA glue, super glue. But I wouldn't swear to it. But that's probably what I would use if I did it again, so that's probably what it was. Thomas Summerhill, any thoughts in resurrecting the Scotland trip? No, not so much probably. You know, if I did do that, and I would like to do that, I probably wouldn't do it on a full band basis again. If I did it at all, I'd probably do it on maybe me and Leon, or, you know, me and Leon and maybe one other person or something, and it would be done differently, because I took on the whole responsibility the last time, and it was just too much. And it was quite a hassle, especially the fact that the COVID thing hit. That just blew everything into outer space, and it was a mess. So anyway, it kind of left a bad taste, but I would kind of like to do it. I would love to go to Scotland. I have, my mother's maiden name was Sconce, and, you know, according to family legend, and that's all it is because I haven't researched it, that's supposedly Scotch-Irish, which I don't know if that's a thing or not, but that's what they always said in the family. So it's kind of like going back to some roots there. TB Player says, Jerry, what is the best cleaner for old lacquer finishes? I have 54K that needs a good cleaning. Well, I always start with the simple thing. I do usually, you want to test it though. I typically just take a damp rag and, just clean it with soap and water more or less, but not so much water, you know what I mean? Just kind of like a damp rag, and if it's really grungy, kind of that. But you got to test that because some of those old finishes will dissolve because they used a lot of shellac. So you want to test it and make sure it's not going to dissolve or turn milky or something like that. So clean it like that first. Just clean it basically first. And then after that, dries up and, you get that finished, then I would take linseed oil, boiled linseed oil, and wipe it down with that. And you'd be amazed what it'll do to those old finishes. The ones that are really old and cracked and chipped and all that stuff. It just does an amazing job. It really makes them look nice. So I think you'll like that if you try that. And you can't get much simpler than that. And when you do the linseed oil thing, wipe it on and wipe it right back off. Don't leave it on there for days or nothing. Just wipe it on and then take it right back off. And then maybe even in 15 or 20 minutes, come back and wipe it again, because a lot of times it'll seep out of pores and things, and you don't want it to be left on there because it stays a little gooey if you do that. But if you keep it thin and dry, like that, it'll dry, cure, and it'll be fine. Jim F., what is your opinion on using a bridge doctor to fix concave area? Well, I have a very firm opinion on that, and it's not necessarily agreed upon by everybody. But I will say this. The bridge doctor absolutely does what it says it's going to do. It does the job. It does fix the bulge and the pulled up area and all that stuff. It's a good product for what it's meant to do. But I don't like what it does to the sound, and that's just the bottom line. So do I use them? No. Do I fix problems like that a different way? Yes. So that's my answer, and it's official. Now, if you're private individual and you're wanting to save money, the bridge doctor will fix it. And you may not even notice anything to your sound. But I do. I notice it. It deadens the sound to a fairly heavy degree, at least in the few cases that I've actually seen it. And anyway, I know some brand new guitars come out with bridge doctors already built in them. And I'm not a fan at all. Okay, let's see. Kevin B., can you tune mandolin for storage a little less tension? I think that's always a good idea. If you know you're going to put it away for a while, loosen up your strings. It's good on any kind of instrument, really. Do I do that? Not often, but you should. You really should. If you know you're not going to play it in quite a while. Paul Walton says, when carving the back of your mandolins, what is the thickest, no more than 180 thousandths of an inch? You're definitely in the ballpark there. I'm going to say you're real close in the thickest part, and then around the edges. My edges, I do it a little different. I bring my edges back up to about the binding thickness, but it drops off really fast and gets into that sweet spot really fast. So my edges are a little bit thicker, but the mandolin itself is definitely in that ballpark, like you're talking there. See if I see another question here. Paul Walton says, Jerry used JB Weld Epoxy to attach the file to the fret lever. I did. Well, if you saw it in a video, I did. But I haven't been able to get JB Weld to hold anything for me. So I'm kind of amazed that that's the case. I'm not doubting you because it was probably done on a video. Let me look at it and see if I can see that up close. I don't remember using that, but now that you say it, it kind of vaguely sounds familiar. I think you might be right. I think it was JB Weld Epoxy. That's what it looks like, now that you say that. I never saw that before, but now that you say it and I'm looking for it, I think I can see that in there. So, good catch there, Paul Walton. Thanks for correcting me, because I've had that question a couple times, and I couldn't remember. But honestly, I think CA glue would do the job also, but you know, this would be a good case for an epoxy, I think. I mean, I don't know that I'd necessarily use JB Weld again. If I was doing it again, I'd probably use the epoxies I have up here now. You know, I've said this before, and people just argue with me and just degrade me for it, but epoxy is not glue. You know, you can believe what you want, it's not glue. It sticks stuff together, kind of like, you know, jelly sticks stuff together. It gets sticky, and over time it will get hard and dry, but it's not glue. So there you go. That's why I say don't use it on your instruments, unless you're filling a void, like I did on that mandolin. And it was more like self-defense on this mandolin than it was any other reason. If I had any other access to it where I could have done it differently, I'd have done it differently. But it wasn't worth taking that thing apart to do it differently. It would have cost way too much money. Can you buy some tools you use on your website? Yeah, I think there's a number of them on there. I may need to look at that again and see if I've got them, everything that, you know, on there. You know, I got my finger planes on there, and I'm not sure if I have a scraper set on there yet or not, but I probably should. And yeah, I know I do have a number of tools on there, so I can't swear to you which ones are there, but there's quite a few products on that products page list now. So if you go to my website and at the top it says products I use, you can scan through there, and feel free at any time to send me an email if you don't see something on there that you'd like for me to add. I'd be happy to add it. Well, that looks like we're about done, and we've got quite a bit of time here. Oh, wait a minute. It looks like there is another one or two I missed. Marcus Dressin Guitar says, watched the Acoustic Shoppe stream earlier today. Very nice. What is it about the bluegrassers that they all are so good? Do people in the South have it in the blood? Wow. Well, Mark, I don't know. Those guys started when they were kids. I mean, as you saw my story there when I told how I met them originally, yeah, John was only 10 years old, and he was out on the parking lot. The reason I know that is because I asked him, I said, boy, how old are you? And he's 10 years old. So, yeah, he was killing it on that guitar already at 10 years old. And I mean killing it. He wasn't playing Mary Had a Little Lamb, you understand. He was playing like Tony Rice already at 10 years old. And I was like, wow. I mean, it was like blowing me away. So, yeah, those guys are so crazy good. You talking about intimidation factor and the pucker factor, I had it bad yesterday. Those guys are so good. I don't mean to belittle what I do. I do okay, but I'm like maybe an A-plus jammer. A-plus jammer. But when it comes to real picking like that, I'm nowhere near an A+. I'm like a C+, maybe a B- compared to those guys. And some of you will say, oh, I thought you sounded fine. You kept with them and all that. It's the subtle stuff that you know once you get to a certain level of playing. Yeah, there's circles and circles around me. I mean circles around me. And I'm not saying that to get you to feel sorry for me. It's just a black and white fact, and I totally, fully understand it and comprehend it. So it's just a black and white fact. It's not like I'm looking for compliments. You know, I kept seeing this thing scrolling, but now that I look at it, there's still, maybe it's just my eyes playing tricks on me. Oh, actually, it repeated Mark Dressin guitar comment again. And unless he accidentally hit it again or something. Rick says, "Hey Jerry, do you sell RSW stickers? My mandolin case wants one." You know, I probably should. I haven't ever done that. I probably should. That's a good question, Rick. Maybe I'll see if Emery can find something. George French, how about hide glue for a fret file? I wouldn't use it, George. I mean, I think it would work. If you're being serious or if you're just being silly with the hide glue thing. I always assume people are being serious. But anyway, the hide glue thing probably wouldn't be your best choice for it, although I think it would work because it's a sticky type of glue and it will harden, kind of like epoxy hardens. The difference is that it's very shock type glue. So in other words, if you dropped it on the floor, it's going to crack loose and pop off of there. So that would be the reason it wouldn't work, but it otherwise probably would. You know, a lot of people think I absolutely just wouldn't use hide glue for anything. Hide glue's got its place. I just prefer a more modern glue that really has better properties all the way around. So that's the reason that I'm like I am on hide glue. I see so many instruments coming apart because of it. It's just unnecessary these days for them to be coming apart. Clarence Hatfield, have you found anything that helps the hand pain? No, I have not, Clarence. I have good days and bad days. Lately, it hasn't been as bad. Maybe it's because I haven't been doing as much work in here. I mean, that might be the reason. But it's not been as bad, although there's been a few nights where I've actually woken up with worse pain, like right in the center of my hands, which I haven't really ever had that before. So, yeah, I don't know. But I have not found a single product, and I've tried many more since the last time I talked to you about it. And none of them have done a thing for me. I mean, I can't even tell I'm doing anything. I might as well just be rubbing water on there because it's like it doesn't do anything. Rudd Jansen, are new bone saddles any good? And the truth of the answer is I don't know, because I don't know what that is for sure. New bone, I would assume it's a plastic man-made material. So there's that. That's what I would assume, just based on the fact that it's called new bone. I would assume it's a man-made material. I'm not saying all man-made materials are bad. I think they do have their place. They sound pretty good on a lot of instruments and things. And in a blind test, you might not even be able to tell the difference. But I know bone works really well. And so I just use bone and or, antler, which is basically the same thing. And then you're going to get me started on my rant about marketing. I mean, there's just marketing out there. Woohoo! I mean, everything's marketed. That's why it says new bone. N-U-B-O-N-E. It's a marketing ploy to get you to think you've got something brand new and perfect here. Yeah, it's a marketing ploy. Sorry. I don't fall for anything. It's just, to me, every time I see one of those, to me, it's just like getting that solicitation phone call. I hang up. So there you go. Yeah, and you might say, well, you're just, stubborn and stuck in your ways. Well, maybe I am. Maybe I am. But I've seen so many marketing ploys, especially in music. There's so much of it. And so much of it is just plain old black and white hype. That's just my opinion, and I'll probably never change that opinion. Let's see here. Looks like that's it. I don't see any more questions. Oh, well, here's one. It says, have you looked at the near infrared light therapy? I've noticed improvements. No, I don't think I've tried anything like that. But I don't think I've even heard of that. But yeah. So who's watching Itchy Boots? Anybody still watching her? She's made it into the United States now, and she's having a good time. I think she's a little bit safer now, though these days in the United States, I'm not so sure about that. Paul Lanier Marcus, the South has a spirit built in the ground that goes to the musician's soul and puts the mojo. Just my observation, folks. Bill Webb says, I listened to that CD you gave me all the way back to Texas. Loved every song on it. Well, thank you, Bill. Those are all original songs that I wrote, except for the Sweet Melinda. And thank you. I appreciate that. Dave Sims, can you use the Seminoff book, Graduations for F-style mandolin, on an A-style mandolin? Yes, I would believe you could, David. I would definitely believe you could. I truly, honestly have never, just so you know, I mean, I've got to give you the honest answer, I have never built an A-style mandolin. I've only built F-style mandolins from day one. But if I was going to build an F-style mandolin, I would use the measurements I have, and I would build it the exact same way. There's very little difference between an A and an F other than the looks. I mean, that's really the biggest difference. Bill says he loves Itchy Boots. Gary says Itchy Boots rocks. Yeah, you would not believe how many people I've had comment. Yeah, Rudd and RZH all say they like it. I've had so many people tell me they're so addicted to Itchy. Even my banjo player in my band, Leon Pruitt, says, thanks a lot. He says, you turned me on to Itchy Boots. Now I spend all my time, streaming her videos. I thought they were really cool when they were over in Africa, too, because, man, I mean, she got into some places over there, too. Way braver than me. Way braver than me. What's the best way to add a strap button to my acoustic? That's a little bit of an open-end question. Are you talking about on the neck? Are you talking about on the back? And in either case, I've kind of gone to the screw-on type rather than the tapered pin. So I prefer the screw-on. And if it's a guitar, acoustic guitar, I put the strap button about right here. In other words, if you're right-handed, holding it like this, the strap button should go about right here, and you put it at a slight angle, kind of going into the neck heel like this, about halfway between the sides of the guitar. And the reason is you want your strap to lay around that neck heel and hold the guitar like that. You don't want it on the end, and you don't want it on there for sure. This is the worst place ever to put a strap button. Do not ever put a strap button here. And this is the second worst. Don't put it right here either. Put it right here, angling out this way. That way your strap will lock onto it, and it will not turn loose, and your instrument will hang just like I'm hanging that instrument right there by my fingertips. That's the only thing holding that instrument. So you can tell that that's a good place to balance your instrument. So that's why you want to do it just like I told you right there. So that end's very important in my opinion. This end here, it's pretty much black and white if you ask me. But in either case, you want to size your drill bit to the screw you're using. And I've shown that a couple times, and I think everybody's pretty much got that now. But I know every time I say that kind of thing, I know people have not seen some of those videos, so I'll show it to you again, and I know some of you will be bored with the explanation, but others will learn from it. So what you do is you take your drills like this, and now I don't have a wood screw handy. I've only got a regular machine screw, but the concept's the exact same, so it doesn't matter. And then you just by eye kind of pick one out that you think's a little smaller than this. And what you do is you hold it up like this, and you put the drill on your eye side of this deal so that you're looking through the drill. And what you want to be able to do is see threads on both sides of the drill. And I'm doing that right now, and I can see threads on both sides of this, and yet I don't see the body. That's the perfect size drill to use. And the reason for that is you're not going to be expanding the wood as you drive your screw in there. If you make this too small, then the center part of your screw is going to be busting your wood out. It's going to be spreading your wood out. And in a hardwood instrument, that's the last thing you want to do because you're going to crack something. So it's very important. If you haven't learned anything else from any of my videos, this is something to learn. And that is to make sure that you do it that way. And make sure that you've covered up the central part of the screw, but yet you can still see threads on both sides. As long as you do that, you're good to go. It'll work. And then, just to play it safe, especially the first time I drive a screw into any hardwood like that, and it doesn't really matter whether it's an instrument or anything else, I typically will wax the threads. You'll find, if you try one waxed and one unwaxed, you'll find the waxed one will definitely feel like it went in much easier. So there you go. That's the name of that tune. Any other questions while I was going on that little rant there? Yes, I have, Lloyd. Lloyd's asking, have I ever heard of DMSO? Yeah, that was one of the early things I tried. And I tried it in a combination with ginger or something else. I mean, there was some people had recommended a combination treatment type thing, and I tried it standalone. I tried it with the other stuff, and no, it didn't help. Sorry. I did try it though. It just didn't help. I tried it several times actually, and for several days, and I never felt any relief from any of it. I don't know why my hands don't find relief from anything. They just don't. It just doesn't. It's just like I think it's just the fact that it's it's not like in the muscles, it's not like in the tendons. It's the physical bones have grown bad, and I mean that's why the surgeon didn't want to operate. He literally took the x-rays, took about a 2-minute look at him and went, yeah. He just kind of started shaking his head and he started backpedaling and explaining. He says, well, I could operate, but if I did, you'd be in really bad pain for 6 months or longer. And he says, we wouldn't even know for 6 months or longer whether it would even help you or not. And I went, okay, sounds like you don't think I should do this. And he's kind of like, if I was you, I don't think I'd do it. And he's a surgeon. That's how he buys his Porsches, So there you go. Do you have a motorcycle? Well, it's funny you asked that. I bought my wife a motorcycle. She's in her 60s. And I bought her a kind of a trail bike for here on the farm. And I bought a cheap one off of Amazon type of deal. And it was a Chinese made, and it's a pretty good little bike, and I rode it around here and stuff, and she rode it up quite a bit. But the problem was it just wouldn't adjust low enough for her. It was just too tall. And she couldn't control it well on these steep hills and the side hills and things. And so she recently sold it about a week ago or 10 days ago, something like that, maybe 2 weeks ago. And anyway, she just yesterday picked up... No, it was Wednesday. Yeah, I think it was Wednesday. Wednesday, she picked up her brand new motorcycle at a dealer near Dayton, Ohio. On the way to Dayton, Ohio, is before you get there about an hour, I think. She called around and found a dealer on the route going to my grandson's, pick up my grandson. She found a dealer that had one in stock because she had called all over here and nobody had them in stock. And so what she bought was a Honda, I think it's called a Honda Trail, something like that. It's a step-through motorcycle that she can step through, and it's a much smaller motorcycle that she can handle. And so she bought that. And so she's just excited to get home with it. So there you go. My wife, the motorcycle queen. Now, when she was a little girl, she was really into motorcycles. Her brothers were into it, and she was really good on them. I'm not kidding you. She was really good on them. I don't know that she was riding wheelie good, but she was really good in terms of racing trails and jumping and all that kind of stuff. So she was good. So I don't have one myself, no. She wants me to get one for riding these trails, and I say, I don't have time to ride the trails. But I probably should. And I might get one. I would probably get a bigger version of something similar, because I don't want a real tall, awkward thing either. I want one that I can get around on and not have to, hassle with it. If anybody has a recommendation for that, send me your recommendation of one you think that would work really good. Because now we're talking steep hills, yet it needs to have enough power, to handle me. I'm in the 200-pound range, so it needs to have enough power to deal with me. But yet, I don't want a giant one, big, ugly monster thing. Gary asks, have I tried Relief Factor? That sounds familiar, but so many things say relief in their title. I'm not positive, Gary, but I think so. In fact, I've got at least 4 or 5 things sitting on my stand next to my chair right now where I put them on, and I honestly, I couldn't even begin to guess how many things I've tried. I'd say we're into 4 or 5 dozen things, at least, if not 100. I mean, seriously, I've tried a bunch of things. I've lost track. I've been trying this stuff for 5 or 6 years now. In fact, it was before I moved to this shop when I started trying those things. And I haven't found one thing other than the meloxicam. That is the only thing that has helped me. And even that's not doing much these days. But honestly, for some reason, the pain has slacked off a little bit lately. So it's there if I do something wrong, if I twist my hand wrong, it's there for sure. But, anyway. I don't like to talk about that anyway, because I can't fix it. It's not going to get fixed, I don't think. More likes, please. Matt, thank you so much for saying that. I appreciate it. I wish we would get everybody to click the like button. If you're on a smart TV and you don't know how to do it, most smart TVs will work something like this, and that is you take your remote and you push your up arrow, and then will pop up a menu on your screen. And then you may have to arrow to that menu, and then generally over to the right, you'll have you'll either have just a thumbs up right there, and you just click on it and you're done, and with your remote. Or you might have 3 dots, and you might have to click on the 3 dots and then find the like button behind that. It's possible. But anyway, on a smart TV, I know it's a lot harder to do it, but I try to do it on all the videos I watch on my smart TV. And what I typically do is, as the video starts, first thing I do is go ahead and click the up button and then click the like button, and bingo. Let's see. Okay, again, there's no question marks on this, but I see Meter Reader UK says, hi, Jerry, can you easily turn a right-handed guitar into a left-handed one? Define easy. You can do it an easy way. Is it done well? Not necessarily. Easy doesn't necessarily mean it's done well. You can do it easy by putting a left-handed nut on it, which that's always where all the work is. Making any kind of nut takes a lot of time if you do that well. The problem is, on a guitar especially, the saddle's going to run the wrong way for your intonation. In other words, it's not going to intonate well with your saddle running the opposite way. So it's not going to be done well. You can do it fairly easy, but it's not going to be done very well. So there's the sad answer, sorry. Well, I think we're at our 1 hour time frame there, and a few more minutes past that. We've got, looks like 202 viewers on here right now. I just want to say thank you all so very much for being so nice to me. I really do appreciate it. I really, really, truly would appreciate it if you'd make sure you're subscribed. I would truly appreciate it if you would click the thumbs up. If you can get that done, I would. It really does help. I know you probably don't realize how much it helps, but it does. And it puts the videos out in front of more people. The more people that watch them, quite honestly, the more money I'll make. And, I am making my living this way, so I'm just being honest with you. But if I don't see the response from the videos, in other words, what's the incentive to keep putting them out? You know, so it's a circle that we're all helping each other, you know. So you're helping yourself by clicking the like button is really the bottom line. So thank you so kindly. We'll see you probably Monday at least, if not before. Thanks for watching.